Well, hello everyone. This is Maya, and we're March 3rd, uh, March 3rd, March 28th, 2019. Okay, we're March 28th, 2019, and I'm here with Nancy Hopkins of Cosmic Reality. Now, a lot of you already know about Nancy, either because you've been following her or because I've been talking nonstop about her a lot too, and her marvelous and Shungite and Cosmic Reality Radio and 5G, our new 5G radio collaboration between the Sacred Academy of Geoenergetics and Cosmic Reality. So, because some of you know about Nancy and don't know about me, some know about me and don't know about Nancy, we're going to do a little spiel first before we get started. And I thought mine would be simple if I just read it off of my website. So here we go. I am a Mysterium teacher under the Etheric Temple of Thoth, a spiritual consultant, Akashic translator or reader, and digital artist. I have been translating from the Akashic consciously as a professional spirit since 1967. I received my diploma from the Sophia Divinity School for the Independent Catholic Apostolic Church of Antioch, Malabar Rite in 2000, ordained as a priest in that church. I am currently a priest in the Ascension Alliance, an independent Catholic movement, and Dame of the Johannine Templar Priory of the White Stone. I am co-founder and now sole operative of Spirit Heart Sanctuary, a nonprofit ministry within the New Earth Star Inner Academy. I outreach my source translations from the Akashic records on planetary transformation and inner self-awareness, employing heart ascension principles. My internet services extend to members and participants globally. The intersection of quantum physics and conscious evolution in my writings was validated in meetings with Edgar Mitchell, Apollo 14 astronaut and founder of the Institute of Noetic Sciences, and through close correspondence with L. George Lawrence, the inventor of the first laser engine. I have published 2 books, Red Tree, an Akashic setting for high spiritual science, and Blue Star Love, a spiritual biography of Elvis Presley. I now serve as a spiritual director for the Academy of Geoenergetics, SAGE, as well as a counselor to the SAGE community in Crestone, Colorado. That's it. Okay. So now, Nancy, will you please tell us a little bit about your background?
Well, the only thing I'm going to reference was important for the Shungite mission.
Yes.
And the first thing that happened was I went into the military and became an electronic warfare officer, which means that I began to be taught electronics and electricity and, understood basically that we're in an energy universe. The other thing that comes into play is that I was working with minerals for a good, since the mid-'80s. And at one point I was doing a fair large volume of buying and selling all sorts of minerals from all over the world. But then I realized that I could buy very easily, but the selling was a problem because I didn't want to let them go. So I kind of moved away from that and went into as an office manager in a small manufacturing company. And that was the oddest job because we were making grenade launchers, of all things, right? And I'm going, why would I be working in a job like this? Well, it was that background as an office manager that gave me the business experience, particularly in the concept of production and international shipping and importing and all of these little things that then when I was introduced to Shungite and realized that I had to go back into business with a mineral, but a different mineral than, I'd ever dealt with before. It was the office management job that allowed me to efficiently put it together and go on the internet with, initially I had nuggets, pendants that I had made, and that was about it. Mm-hmm. And then after that, the people that needed to take this mission further came along, and that was Walt Silva and Derek Condit now. But Walt was the one that worked on the science with me. Because the other thing I bring to the table is that I've been gifted with the ability to feel energies, but also to see at the molecular level. It's like I start getting pictures in my head about what's happening molecularly. And I also ended up realizing that there was a creator consciousness that we call Gaia. It's the creator consciousness, a creator God, if you will, of this biosphere. And in dedicating myself to her needs, in that I needed to work with doing something that would help her. She introduced me to the Shungite. So as soon as I had the Shungite, I was I had the background to be able to pull this off as a business. And the thing of it was this was 2014, and at that time in the United States there were only two suppliers of Shungite nuggets, and one supplier that was really doing jewelry, and Shungite, particularly the Elite, had become part of her products. But worldwide, especially in Europe, Shungite was known, but not in the United States. And that's when the key to the whole thing really came into play, because I was on radio. And I had 4 shows of my own every week, plus I was on a lot of other people's shows. So as I started learning about the Shungite, I started talking to my co-hosts, and we started to all become active in it. And it was a learning process by people just observing it, testing it, doing weird things about it, and me being able to see it at the molecular level. And I'd say, Walter, I'm seeing this. And Walt would say, all right, if she's seeing this, how do I test it in the 3D to see if I can prove that she's seeing this? And so then he would, and then when we proved that what I was seeing looked like it was correct, we tried to develop, we would develop products that could use this new gift of Gaia's through Shungite of being able to do something.
Yeah.
And my primary motivation through all of this has been that Shungite can attenuate electromagnetic or Wi-Fi signals. And by attenuate, I mean it takes these are energy fields, and they're rotating. And as they rotate, coming off of the equipment, it's hitting your body and plants and everything that's alive. It's hitting it with a spin in the reverse of how our body cells are spinning. That causes friction. And if the signal is stronger than your own cells in the rotation, your cells start to rotate the other way. And that's disease. That's sick. That's really screwed up. But with Shungite, because of a science that indicates it's connected to the quantum field, because it rotates. Well, there's a C60 inside the Shungite, and we shouldn't really focus on C60 itself, because it's all of the Shungite that's doing the same thing, even though it's a specific C60 molecule that is rotating 20 billion times a second. Now, how could anything rotate that fast unless it was being fed by some unbelievable power? And that would be the quantum field.
Yes.
So that's what makes Shungite so specifically different than any other mineral that's out there. And when we say Shungite, it's like it's like I talk about a stew. It's like you got a stew. There's all sorts of chemicals and stuff inside the Shungite. Carbon being the predominant one, and it is the carbon that holds the C60. But this thing of Shungite came from outer space and crashed into Earth 2.5 billion years ago. Now, when it crashed into Earth, it was carrying every single element in the periodic chart, meaning everything to build life was there inside of it. So that when it crashed into the area of Shunga, which is a little town in what's now called Karelia, Russia, when it crashed in that whole area and left a debris field of 1,000 kilometers square, and that's about 800 miles square, and going down up to 400 in some areas, and 200 is probably the average. It's a huge, huge deposit. And the people in the area and people like 300 years ago knew that the waters in the area stay pure, they don't go bad, and they seem to be healing. And in fact, were proved to be healing in many ways. This information never got to the United States until 2014.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? And now there's people all over, and not only all over selling it, but all over listening to us, because we tell people how we make the stuff we make.
Mm-hmm.
And they're quite welcome to make themselves. Of course, what they miss is that when you come through cosmic reality, you're coming through a community that is expanding all the time. And that gives that community what's called a quantum entanglement.
Yes.
And I have told people, I mean, I've had people come to me and tell me that Shungite didn't work for them. And I've said, here, take my Shungite. And all of a sudden they're getting an effect on it. Not anymore. That's because so many people are into Shungite now, that doesn't prevail.
Yeah.
But there is a quantum entanglement. So that's why we tell people, you know, this is the way you do it, you know, go out and give it to people that you want, you know, but understand that if you keep the connection to us, if you say, oh, I got this information came from cosmic reality, you're invoking the same kind of, because we want this to go worldwide. And we don't have to have it to be cosmic reality. We need it to be Shungite. But right now, cosmic reality is the central point for 5G, radio 5G, for information that you're not going to get anywhere else.
Yeah.
And that's why we try to promote it, because it's an information outlet. I mean, the Shungite you can get any place. We tell you how to make it. You want to buy it from us, then you're going to have even a more special Shungite, in my humble opinion. But mostly I want you to be engaged with a community that's growing up with information like the Sage people have. Now we're together, you know, in a very, it's not a 3D partnership as much as it is a mission partnership, and that we all know where we're going. We're just taking different routes to get there.
Absolutely.
I know that was a little long, but.
No, absolutely, Nancy. I totally agree with that. And I do want to say that, you know, Nancy, and I'm quoting you here. I hope I'm correct. You can let me know if I'm not. You know, this is really a true mission for Nancy and the people that work with her. And Nancy doesn't take any funds for her personal self out of what they make. As she said.
Well, that's changed. That's changed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for the first 5 years that was true.
Uh-huh.
But to be honest with you, I spent a lot of my own money supporting the company to get it that far. Mm-hmm. And so now I say, give me money. I want the money. And
no problem.
I got no problem taking the money, because it's not my money. And what it does, it allows me to send the money elsewhere.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It's just, give me the money, I'll give it to the bees.
Yes, absolutely. And Nancy helps a lot of people too. She's been helping me with my health problems. She gave me this beautiful little pendant. And I want to tell you, this thing is really, I've really noticed a difference with this. You know.
Is that one of the cosmics?
This is yeah, it's the one you sent me. It's in silvered with the
Okay. Yeah. The cosmic silver. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
That is a very special energy form.
Yes. Oh, and then there's this, ta-da, one of Walt's little devices. And this
it's spiral.
This really works on my gut. When I'm having bad times there, because that's one of my problems, I just, you know, put it against my gut. It really works. It's amazing.
Now, is that the Shungite spiral, or is it the turtle spiral? I mean, the turpentine spiral.
It's the turpentine. Oh, so it doesn't have Shungite.
Oh, no, it's got Shungite in it, but that's okay, so I've got mine too right here. Here's mine. Well, I swear by the turpentine ones. I've worked with, when I had to make it, because turpentine is such a healer, and I said, Walter, instead of them actually taking and drinking this, can't we make an energy form of it? Yeah. And so that's how it showed up, you know. And I just love that sucker. It does so much amazing things. And I mean, it does. All right, the cat the other day, his eye was bad, and I yelled out, Terp, I call him Terp, Terp, the cat's eye's bad. You know, can you fix it? And a couple of hours in, I go into the room and the eye looks perfect.
What'd he do?
I don't know what turpentine did. I mean, the turpentine spiral can heal anything.
Oh,
And
you have
one,
the spiral to do it.
the
The spiral.
spiral, right.
And
And
you
then
didn't
one,
even put it on the cat. You just called out
no,
to it in
I
the
just
room.
yelled, the cat's got a bad eye, fix it. And one day, I had it doing something for me. I don't know. I don't remember exactly what it was. And then there was a problem with one of the cats, and I went back and I said to him, okay, stop working on me and work on the cat. And I got this kind of a reply, and you're going to know how it comes into your head, right? What do you think? I can't do two things at once?
Right.
You know?
Oh, that's cool.
But anyway, yes, people, we are not crazy. Well, maybe a little crazy, but I'd rather be crazy than normal, because those people are insane,
Right.
you know. But no, no, turpentine spirals, awesome.
Okay. Well, now I want to talk just a little bit about how you mentioned it, but I just want to understand just a little bit better, and for other people as well, how Shungite and EMF work together. In other words, what you're saying, now I'm going to quote you, and if I'm wrong, you can correct me here, is that Shungite does not block EMF. It transforms it. Does it transform it in the sense of neutralizing it, or does it transform it in the sense of making it something good to work with?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. When you start out with a piece of an electrical equipment, you wrap the wire in a certain way. If they had wrapped the wire the opposite way, which they could have easily have done, we wouldn't have the problems we have with it, but they didn't. So they built an entire system that has the wave, an energy wave, you know, and it's rotating in an opposite direction from what our cells are rotating at.
Right, right.
Okay, so because the Shungite has such a powerful energy field being fueled by the quantum field, when the electromagnetic energy enters the Shungite field, it reverses. It just, in mid-flight, just turns itself and starts reversing in the other way. It's spinning in the other way. So now it's biocompatible with you. It's not doing the reverse of what your cells are spinning at. It's like if you had two tops and both of them were going in the opposite direction and they hit, well, there's going to be problems, friction. Somebody's going to stop. But if you've got them both going in the same direction, then what happens is that you start spinning faster. Okay. Now, so we can attenuate attenuate means change. Okay. Change for the better, normally connotation of. We can change the electromagnetic field very quickly because it's just energy. And it's not being blocked and it's not being absorbed, because if it was being blocked or absorbed by Shungite, then what would happen is that the Shungite, the device itself wouldn't work. Your cell phone wouldn't work. It would not be, and instead, because you have now reversed the signal and it's a more natural signal, you actually get better communications. Your phone doesn't heat up. Everything becomes more efficient.
I've noticed that because I have the Shungite stickers everywhere. Yeah, right. Yeah, and I've noticed it seems my computer works better too.
Oh yeah, everything.
Yeah.
Big equipment like my refrigerator. That one, well, let's see, 4 years ago. Yeah, 5 years ago. Well, about 4 years ago I started putting Shungite on this refrigerator fairly rapidly, but it was the magnet that made the difference. But it was going making these pounding sounds. I mean, it was 20 years old, right? Yeah. And I put the Shungite on the refrigerator, and that was 4 years ago, and I don't hear no clunking anymore. It's working perfectly.
Yeah.
So everything is more efficient when you're in a
Does it save electricity? Didn't you say it saved?
Oh yeah, because it's more efficient. The machine is working much more efficiently. Yeah. And that was something that was an odd story, because my aunt, who at the time was like 89, I think, she couldn't, I wasn't going to try to explain to her about Shungite. I mean, so I just gave her it had 3 Shungite magnets on it, but it was a dolphin. It was very big. And she put it on a refrigerator. Well, she's blind. So one day, 3 months into it, she says to me, "Oh, I've been meaning to tell you, ever since I put that magnet on that refrigerator, I think I'm getting my power bills are low." And I said, "Really?" And she said, "Yeah." I said, "How much lower?" And she said, "Wait a minute," because she's blind. She remembers all this stuff in her head at 89, right? Does up the math and she goes, "It's 30%. I'm in the last 3 months, I've been saving 30% on my." Now that's because she had the three of them.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, I've got it on my smart meter. I've got it on my refrigerator. I've got it, of course, on all my computers and my microwave. Yes, I have a microwave. Bless me, I've sinned, but I do have a microwave. So I put it on all of that. So,
All right, listen to me. Seriously, if you've got a microwave, when you turn it on, get the hell away from it.
I go way.
Run.
I go
Because they've proven that there's heart arrhythmia when somebody is standing within 2 feet of a microwave.
Yeah.
That's 3D. That's not voodoo energy. And it's 3D, you know?
It is. I shouldn't use it at all. I realize that. So I'm going to tell a short little story here. If anybody doubts that Shungite works, I want to share this one. I have a friend who is extremely, extremely sensitive to, well, different foods and toxins and chemicals, and also, of course, the signals, you know, the Wi-Fi and all of that. She's around my age, but many years ago, when she was around 33 or something, she was toxically poisoned. I won't go into the whole story, but it was a serious toxic poisoning. And ever since then, she's nearly died a zillion times. Just walking into a store or doing, you know, because if there's the wrong substance or the wrong energy field, she's on the floor. She's had heart attacks because of this condition. So she was in my house, and this is before Shungite, right? Just I have all my equipment because I'm working here all day, and I've got Alexa, I've got this, I've got all this stuff around me, and she had a real hard time being in this room. But she would sit here for a while. She said, "I've got to get out of the room for a while," and then she'd come back in, you know. So anyway, and she had touched my cell phone before, and she didn't like it, but nothing happened. Well, one time I think she was standing in a triangulated position with the waves coming in different positions, and she took hold of my phone to look at a picture, and she went, "I've got to go home now." And she got this really serious look on her face. She didn't make it to the door. So she lay down for a while. It didn't work. She didn't make it to the door. She fell on the floor. She went into this horrible thing. I thought she was going to die right in front of my eyes, and there was nothing I could do about it. Finally, she managed to crawl. We helped her. My friend had called my friend over. We helped her to get outside. She said, "Outside, outside," when she could finally talk, which was about, oh gosh, it had to be 15 minutes later with all this going on for her. And she got out, so she crawled the last part of the way. She scooped the snow aside, put her hands on the earth. She had to get her hands on the earth. And it started leaving, you know, started getting better. And then when she could stand, she got and hugged the tree. And that's when it really, really cleared. And she was okay then. It was like nothing happened, you know. She said, "Well, this is how it is." I said, "I thought you were going to die." And she said, "Oh, I could have. Okay, so that's the scenario. Now, fast forward, Shungite everywhere, Shungite here, to Shungite on my phone, Shungite. And she comes in here, and not only that, I bought her a Shungite necklace. She actually has one of the other ones I gave her, since she gave me this one I gave her. She's got two of them, and she's got Shungite on her little mini phone. It's not fancy like mine. She's got it on everything that she has that she can possibly put it on. So she comes into my room. She sits here fine. She says, "It's a little tickle, a little tickle." I don't want her to hold my phone anyway, but she can actually talk on her phone. Whereas before she said, "I'm not using this thing." We must have talked 30 minutes the other day, no problem. But some friends came to visit, and they didn't have Shungite on their phone, and she didn't touch it or anything, but they stayed overnight. When they left the next day, she had to go to bed for a while. She really had to. She was not well. So it shows, you know, it works for her. It works. And this is a woman who has, you know, life and death situations right now. Forget 5G. She has them right now, you know.
Okay, the fact that she was getting a tickle, and you've got Shungite on everything else.
Yeah.
I'm assuming she's going to come and visit you again.
Oh yeah.
You know the electric outlets where you plug in your lights and that, you know those things. Well, they're bleeding into the room. Okay. Even though they've been attenuated, they're still bleeding into the room. Everything's bleeding into the room. So if you take a sticker or even the paint, and we've got outlet covers that you can put on them. But
Okay.
if you put shungite in some way, block that energy. As the energy comes into the room, it has to pass through that.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're saturating the room with shungite energy
Ah,
instead of electric energy that may be attuned correctly, but it's not natural.
yeah, yeah. So what do you have in your store that can do this? What did you call it again?
We've got these, the covers that you have over the outlets.
Yeah,
Oh, well, I can show you one. See on this phone right here. Can you see that black thing?
yeah, uh-huh, right.
Okay. That's one of the outlet covers. I've
Okay,
got it on my phone because it's the same thing on the phone. And someday they will make me something that will replace this. But
yeah,
this is now around. We got them clear now because we found out that these were not durable, this type. But
uh-huh,
we just get the regular plastic ones, and then we paint shungite on the back of them, and
right.
then you put them on your outlet cover.
Okay,
Well, we also have the paint that you can do it yourself. You can just take off the cover, put a few drops of shungite on the back of it, and then put it back in. And when the electricity goes through it, comes through this field, it's
yeah,
now a shungite field. So the electricity is creating a field that shungite is now using to heal.
wonderful. That's
And
fabulous.
she'll be a great test,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
even if you just do it in that one room.
She doesn't have her own house yet. They're, her house is being built here in Creston. I've known this. This is a dear friend I've known for many years, and she's here now, living here. But she's been through all kinds of stuff, so she's having to live in a rent house. She lives in. She has to live in an environment that's very, very insulated. So this is a test time for her. Hopefully in May the house will be done, and she had it come from. It's an Amish thing that you put the house together. She tested. She talked to them for months about all the materials. She can't have any certain kinds of toxic materials in the wall, or anything. So it's going to be another beautifully insulated house. But right now, she's having to wing it, and it's difficult. But when she gets in, she's going to have no, she's going to have real phone, not a cell phone, and she's going to have shungite everywhere. So she'll
Well,
definitely have those in there.
tell her about the outlet cover
I
thing. She
will.
can do
I
it.
will.
She can do it in that house even.
Mhm. She can. She's going to be listening to this, so she'll know that. Okay. Now, I did want to ask one other thing. I heard you talking on the last Radio G5 with Michael Dunn about Shungite weave. Could you talk to me about that a little bit?
Well, the weave is an ancient concept of energy, and it's the concept that there's a weave of tree, an energy that connects all trees.
Uh-huh.
Within the trees, the energy connects all the pine trees is another subcategory of it, and the coconut trees and the oak trees. Every species has its own little weave, an energy connection between those different individuals within that collective of like pine tree. And then all of those go to make a weave of tree. There's a tree of water. It's an energy field that, surrounds the earth wherever you've got the water. And, I could talk about it from a 3D concept of how they communicate with each other and everything else. But it's really energy.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got this weave. Well, shungite has a weave too. It's a weave to shungite. And not shungite that might be in Kakistan, because it's not, or the Ukraine, because it's not. The only place in the world to get this specific thing we call shungite is Karelia, Russia.
Yeah.
And that mother lode is connected to every little particle of itself.
Yes.
So all over the world in a 3D way, we have shungite. And that shungite is connected to everything else by a weave, an energy weave. So if you work with the energy weave, and I've told people you don't even need shungite, just tap into the energy weave.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And over the last, basically the last, I'd say 6 months, the first thing that happened was that the shungite and the water began to work together, the weaves. And they made the connection to the tree right away. I mean, it was like tree, water, and shungite made an energetic connection. And bit by bit, shungite is linking up to a lot of the other weaves that are out there, and there's more weaves than you can even imagine.
Yeah, yeah. Well, now this is what Thoth calls the Shungite field. Same thing. It's the weave. I like weave.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
And this is what we're working with in. Well, that's part of what we're working with in this tezolectic thing. And I'm going to talk just a little bit about that now because I want to ask you some things based on that. So let me get back to it right here. I'm going to read because it's kind of difficult to explain it in a few words, but I gave it my best shot. Okay, so this is the project we have. This was given to me by my Inner Planes mentor, Thoth Hara, the Thoth Stream, the Thoth Akasha. You can call it Peter Rabbit. I don't care. Whatever. It came down and it's in me. So anyway, it's called the Tezo Earth Regenesis Protocol and Grid. Essentially, this is a particular type of charge or signal that can be generated through the human heart chakra to connect to Gaia's heart or central sonatoma. Around the planet, there are what Thoth is calling Nadis nodes, N-A-D-I-S. These are natural acunodes being enhanced and focused for specific energetic networking. Now, the enhancement is being done by ultra beings and inner earth beings in cooperation with Mother Gaia. And we have a growing community who is working with a protocol that helps to enforce the intelligent interface between the heart of Gaia and the outer planetary energy fields, and of course, the human heart. We are working with the Tezo protocol for restoration of a strong, protective planetary energy field. Now, what this means is that we have orchestrated, humanity has orchestrated on the surface of the earth, in the airwaves and everything. We created this artificial reality. We've got so much chaos going on in that field that Gaia is going, no, I'm not, no, you know, and we're doing all of this stuff and we can't, and our human hearts are all, you know, involved in syncing with that instead of mama down here. So what this is about and what they've created here is a little platform that kind of bridges. It's like a membrane, but it's only operative if human sentient and DNA energy.
Sorry, it's okay. I forgot to turn that off. It's okay. Okay, I gotta turn it off.
Okay, I'll wait. These things happen, folks.
Wednesday, 4:44 p.m. Message deleted. Of messages. Calls will not be answered.
All right.
Calls will not be answered. Okay, so this Tezo field, which is actually a creation that these ultras and have gifted us with, but it's a webbing that connects to natural things. It connects to the natural nodes of the Nadis nodes, as they call them. It connects to the other things. I won't go into all of it, but also into our human energy heart and to Gaia herself. And he said it's to help us create a better dialogue with Gaia. I mean, Nancy has a dialogue already, but most people don't on that level. And we're working to do that so that the bottom line of this, as it says, it's for restoration of a strong protective planetary energy field on the surface of the Earth. What's going on up here? Now, so indicates to me, more than indicates, that the Shungite field, the Shungite weave, and is a very, very strong part of this. And that because, as he says anyway, that Shungite can update itself. It can update its intelligence. It can update how it works, what it works with, and how it does it. Not with a snap of a finger. It doesn't go, oh, okay, I'll just do this. No, it doesn't work that way. But it does ping off of human sentient consciousness, off of the DNA genetic energy that's flowing through us, the light forms that are in our field, all of these things. Shungite is listening. It's got a little ear head, you know, it's listening. And now that we've developed a further field because of all the stones that are out there and everything, is really listening. And so one of the things that the protocol does is help it listen a little better and say, come on into the conversation. Let's all talk together here. Let's work together. A lot of it has to do with simply intelligent, what is it called? What Thoth calls it? Intentional work, intentionalizing and working with it on that level. So that's what we're working with, and we've had some really interesting things. We just really started. We don't have a whole lot of people yet. I don't know, about 40, 50, something like that. But Thoth is wanting us to have at least 102 that are continuously that do the little tiny protocol, the little 3-4 minute protocol once a day. There's other steps to it. You can go deeper and deeper. Many people choose to, but it's like, oh, well, I can't do all that. I don't have time for that. Can you please just do the little short protocol, because it links in to the larger work that others are doing, and it all connects together. So in doing this, we are creating, let's say, certain new reality streams, but these streams aren't just going off into, la la land. These streams are supportive. They're supportive of the mainframe, so to speak, and they're feeding back into it like a loop and helping it to develop back into its true substance reality that we intended to have in the first place. And Guy is so happy about this. At least that's my feeling. So, okay, let's see. There was something else I wanted to say about that. What is it? Okay. Oh, yes. One other thing that's kind of interesting here. I am saying this now, and we've kind of not been talking about it, but Thoth is giving me the tap on the shoulder to do that. And that is, we have been guided to create what he calls nodospheres, these little copper spheres that have some shungite in it and other things inside it. Very simple. And they're just to be placed in certain locations, mainly along certain points of the planet, just a few of them, because once they're in place, the energy propagates. They're not magical, they're not high tech, they're nothing like that. All they do is say, it has to be in aligned with the human being, with a human being. Every one of these nodospheres has to have a human counterpart. And that human counterpart can sit in the living room, on the dining room table, I don't know, wherever, but it's in their field where they are a lot of times. And all of this, the only thing this does is it connects certain stations together. And it just says, okay, and it just sends it right down into the center of the earth. So it's just a help me make tool, but it does seem to be an important one. So since I am in the virtual world of Second Life, and I'm not in there to play games, I've been in there for like 10 years, and I do spiritual work in there. So encouraged me to do it because he said the virtual field, when you're in the 3D virtual field, you're in an etheric field that works very quickly, acts very quickly, and it creates a weave to the 3D, what we call physical world, which is really all a bunch of pixels too, So that's what I've been doing for all of these years. Well, now he's saying he wants me to introduce little virtual nodospheres and put them into certain locations. We have a huge spiritual community in there. I say we, it's not just mine. There are spiritual communities propagating all over. And I'm going to be giving talk on it. And I expect that we're going to have a lot of people that are going to be working with this inside this virtual reality, where I already have a TESO field set up on one of my platforms. So anyway, this is just an exciting footnote to all of this. So now, let me see. Okay, I'm coming to asking Nancy if she'd please tell us the story about Colorado River pollution and how Shungite helped that. I just love that story. It's like a bedtime story for me.
Well, I think it was back in 2016. I'm not even sure now because I lose track of the years. But there was a mine, the Gold King mine in Colorado, and it was supposedly being cleaned out of all the toxic chemicals they'd been using for all these years in there. And they were told by an engineer that the process they were trying to use to clean it out would cause a huge blowout in the mine, and all this stuff with water being pumped through it. They were going to pump water through it, like cleaning it out with a pressure cleaner, and then have a containing vessel to hold this dirty water that then they would somehow deal with. And he said, there's too much pressure, it's going to blow the mine. Well, guess what? He was right. And billions of toxic water with all these chemicals went right out the side of the mine into the river below. And anybody that remembers that, you remember seeing these orange, this river that was completely orange, or as far as the pictures would show you, there was orange in this water. Well, I didn't hear about it initially, but I got a call from Jean Rockefeller, who said that somebody that she knows that's on the river is telling her this terrible story. And Jean looked at it, and Jean went, "Oh my God, the only people I know that could possibly do anything is Nancy and Walt." So I got Walt on a phone call, a Skype call, and it took 4 hours. But we just sat there and we worked with all of the nature spirits that we have direct connection with, including the jinn. The jinn are not bad people. They're wonderful people. They're our family. They're our protectors.
Absolutely. Both agrees with you.
You know, and so the jinn were there. All of the water spirits were there. I forget what they're called, forgive me. But all this amazing life was there. The archangels, oddly enough, were not involved in it. They were observing, but they weren't participating, which I found interesting. So basically, the concept is you've got this tremendous amount of water and polluted stuff that's now in the river. This river is connected to the Colorado River, which then would have deadened the water supply for 4 states and the Navajo population, the Navajo resort reservation. So it looked like, okay, this is a major, major thing. And Walt and I finally decided that we would using the etheric, because the etheric's the blueprint for the 3D. So he's a shaman. He does shamanic journeying, and like I say, I'm energy sensitive. I'm also a remote viewer, which is very handy. So I'm looking in a remote view at what I'm seeing, and I'm telling him, and he's talking me through, can we do this? Can we do that? And so finally, we created we were going to create an etheric C60 structure, which is like a soccer ball, and put it all completely, a huge one that would completely seal off the source of all this problem, which was the mind, and just put it on top of it, okay, to stop what was happening. Okay, so well, that sounds good. Well, the next thing I know, I'm out in the middle of outer space, and this fullerene is being built in front of me. And then the fullerene takes off, and I said, well, I better follow it. So I follow it back to Earth, and it goes straight over to where the problem is, and it's set down just absolutely perfectly, completely encapsulating, the problem. By that time, we had already realized that we had to stop what was happening in the river, because now it's approaching the Colorado, and you're talking about just millions and millions of tons of polluted water, all orange, making the miles and miles of the river that it flow into, which I can't think of its name now. But anyway, so what we did was we worked to create etheric doubles, like you're talking about with the Tezio devices.
Yeah.
It was an etheric double of a device that Walt and I have worked with many times doing this. And it's I don't even remember all the details of it, but it basically is, what do we call it? The Gaia something, I don't remember. Oh, help me here. Anyway, and so we duplicated it, and then we sent it to the jinn, who then placed it in the river in exactly whatever distance it had to be able to do this. And there wasn't very many of them. I don't think that there was, I want to say that there was 5, but it was probably more than that. But I think it was only 5 that we set up, because I was like, how many of these do we need? And, I'm getting like back, you only need 5. Oh, okay. So we built the 5, and we had all of the nature spirits working, all of the, jinn were there. And so I'm like, okay, we got it. And I'm sitting there, and this jinn says to me, is it turned on? And I said, oh, I don't know. And all of a sudden, Guy's in my ear, and she says, wait. And I said, Guy's saying wait. Apparently it's not turned on. And the next thing I know, I'm taken out of body, and I'm looking back down on Earth over the continental United States, like I was over the Atlantic Ocean. And I'm looking down, and I see all this these lights flickering lights. And I'm going, what is this, you know? And then these lights come up and they started to coalesce into a great ball of energy. And all of a sudden it got to a certain intensity. And, you know, I think Gaia said it's on, but I think more I felt it come on. And I said, it's on, you know, because what she was waiting for was enough people to wake up to this disastrous situation and say no. Because Walt and I could give you a story as to how Gaia cleaned up this god-awful mess. You know, we can say, well, we helped her out there. We did this. Did she need us to do it? No, she could have done it and stopped it and never made it happen. But we're at a time in space and place where we have to act as witnesses.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. We have to be part of the story. We have to see what works and what doesn't work. And yes, we can build a system. Walt and I have done things by ourselves with nobody else knowing what was happening. But in this case, they needed us to witness that the real power is not what we're doing etherically. The real power is in human thought saying, no, we're not going to let this happen.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, within 24 hours, all the orange disappeared. And to this day, they'll give you some gobbledygook thing about what must have fallen. The first thing they said was, because we get somebody on the river, looking, watching, you know, and talking to the locals. You know, she's getting the local story because it never hit mainstream. What are you going to say? Oh, my God, 5 states are dying. And then all of a sudden it disappeared. How are you going to explain that?
Yeah, yeah.
You know? And myself and Walt, we did it on live radio at the time that we did it. We said, we just did this. We didn't know if it was going to work or not. We said, we just did this. And by the next day, it was all gone. And they said that the heavy metals had fallen to the bottom of this raging river. Oh, yeah, okay, that makes sense. And so, you know, and there were other people doing other things. But, you know, we were the ones that went out and said we did it. So I'm going to claim that we did it.
Okay, that's fine with me.
But we only did it with the help of all those people that said no.
Uh-huh.
We're in this together. You know?
Absolutely. That's what I'm working with this TISO protocol in the field that we're creating. That's the kind of work we're doing here. And I want to say, when you talk about witness, you know, I'm working with this Thothic stream energy entity since I was 17. And I just had my 70th birthday. So, you know, that's quite a while. And it kind of raised me. And so Thoth would come to me as an actual entity at times and say to me, I'd be saying something. He said, I will witness for you. And I'm going, witness for me? What are you, a Jehovah's Witness? You know, I really didn't get it at first. But eventually, of course, I did get it. You know, when I got out of my teen years or whatever, I did understand what was being said. And actually, I have to say that Thoth was not, I wasn't communicating with Thoth consciously until 1977. It was 67 when the Ultras came to me. So they started talking to me about these things, but it was Thoth that would say to me later that, you know, I will witness for you. And that's what he meant, exactly. You know, if I had something that was positive, putting on the table, or he was asking me to, you know, requesting I put on the table, so to speak, he said, and I will witness for you. He didn't say, I will help you do it, or I'll make you do it, or any of that. He just said, I will witness for you. And that's what he meant. Yeah. Oops, your microphone's off.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
By that, what he's saying is that, you see, this is where people underestimate the power of humanity, in that you or I could sit any place and make changes to reality.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just a fact.
Yeah.
And when you have somebody like those saying, I'm witnessing, it means that somebody else is locking it into the timeline. If nobody knows that we do this, we will do it. But to lock it into a timeline, you know, to say,
yes,
because when
exactly.
you understand what I'm saying, that requires the witness.
Yes, the witness does that, especially if it's a witness that's really, you know, got it together. Yeah. Right. Fabulous. Well, of course, I just love that Colorado River story. That's so incredible. Okay, well, we're doing pretty well on time. Nancy, would you like to say a few words about the bees? in Shungite?
Okay, let's go back to the Shungite for a moment, because what Shungite does for us is it's teaching us what I call enerology, which is a study of energy.
Mm-hmm.
And it is without a doubt taken that science, which I've been working with, and I just, what it is a combination of metaphysics and quantum physics come together. And it's enerology, the study of energy. That's what's behind everything. So, I mean, I coined that phrase back in the 70s in trying to work with people understanding the problems with electromagnetic energy and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
But it's only with Shungite that I even became, just, I thought I understood energy until I started playing with Shungite. And it's taught us so much about energy and magic, because magic is only the manipulation of energy. But what the bees are doing here are that they don't listen to me on radio, and they've never read my book.
Right.
I mean, when Derek put the Shungite on the hive, maybe they heard him say, "This is a good thing." Maybe they understood that, or maybe not. Maybe they were just attracted to the Shungite. And what he had done is he had taken a regular beehive and put 3 nuggets in the doorway. And we've got video of this, okay? Now, a beehive, if they get a piece of leaf or anything on the doorway or even on top of the hive, they will work to get clear it. If they don't want it, they can get rid of this stuff, right? And that was what he was mainly concerned. I didn't know this about bees, but they will throw it out. Well, not only did not they throw it out, they actually glued it to the hive. And that's every hive we've had that's a Shungite hive, they all do that. They glue the Shungite to the hive. And then when they leave the hive, they walk over it and rub up against it. And when they come back, they walk over it and they rub up against it. So that by the end of, 12 weeks of the hive being active, the nuggets had gotten a contour like a mountain from them rubbing up against them.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're taking little particles of Shungite, because the way that they get pollen is that their bodies are positive and the plant is negative and the pollen's negative. So as they're flying in, the negative pollen is actually being attracted to their bodies. So, they don't have to actually land on it. They just have to be there to, right. So, okay. So the same thing was happening with the Shungite, is that the Shungite being a negative type of thing was now, we just hang on them, right? And off they fly.
Yeah.
And that was what happened. He started out with 50,000 bees in 2 hives and ended up with over 1 million bees. And he had captured about half of them, and they were in 8 hives. And that's in 11 weeks. No disease, not a dead bee from anything.
Amazing.
There was no colony collapse. There was no mites. There was no sickness. And he had no chemicals. No chemicals whatsoever were used.
Yeah. So Derek does all this wonderful work and goes around doing like Johnny Appleseed with the hives and giving people Shungite for it and all of this. But you also have your Shungite honey. And I'm just very interested in this, but I don't want to have it with the particles in it right now. I feel that's a little too strong with me. So I'm waiting for the honey that's just made out of from the Shungite bees. Can you talk about those 2 kinds of honey that you have available?
Well, right now, I'm not sure what's available, because in 2017, he was able to concentrate on the bees. He was working as a correctional officer in a state penitentiary. That was what his job was. And he started these bees and he put the Shungite in it. And all of a sudden, he was having bees growing all, I mean, just, tremendous, this is not natural that you have this kind of growth, but when you add Shungite to the mix, it happens. Mm-hmm. And what he did was the bees were making so much honey, because he never would take more than what he thought the bees need to get him through the winter. But they were making so much honey that he actually had to take some of the honey away from the hives. And so he started doing this, and then he realized, well, I guess I better do something with this honey. And they started to process it, and so And they sent me this honey, and I don't like honey. And I would not, I was against honey, and I know now because it was all crap.
Mm.
But when I tried this honey, that made me, I'm telling you, it was such a weird experience because in an instant, everything I had been saying about Shungite suddenly became absolutely real to me.
Mm.
I had all the proof in the world, all of the data saying that everything I was saying about it was true. But when I tasted that honey and had the energetic effect that I encountered, I was like, I've never, ever doubted Shungite since.
There.
Ever. No, because I know what the honey is. And, you know, like, I mean, here, see?
Yeah, yeah.
Shungite honey energy all over the universe.
Well, so you don't have any of the just the plain Shungite honey in the store right now because it's off season, right?
Well, because last year in 18, he really couldn't concentrate on the bees in his own apiary because we were building the store and getting the information out to others.
Right.
So this year, he's in a much better place. I mean, they had to move last year, and he quit the job and came to work for Cosmic Reality and all this stuff that really, but it was no loss of the bees. He kept the bees going, right? But instead of capturing them so that we could harvest the honey, he just let them fly out into the wilderness, all right? And after, a few weeks of this happening, the neighbors he just moved into this. He was only there for a year in February, and he moves into to this area, and they know he doesn't know about this place, and they kept saying to him, we don't normally have these many flowers. We normally don't have this good a growing season. And the trees, the apple trees were old apple trees that had so much apples on them, the limbs were breaking. A wild grape vine that nobody could even eat. Maybe the birds would eat it, or some of the buggy thingies, but basically human consumption. Not even the local moonshiner was wanting those grapes for his moonshine, right?
Yeah.
And the moonshiner came over and got as many as Derek would give him. He's going, take them, because my dogs are eating them, and grapes aren't good for dogs.
I bet that was good hooch, huh?
Well, I said Derek said to the guy, he said, just, when you get the moonshine, he said, I would really like to, and the guy promised him. And Derek says, I said to Derek, well, you're promising me, right? And he says, oh, you think a moonshiner is going to remember that promise? So
Yeah.
But yeah, but that demonstrates what the real problem is. If you don't have the bees, you don't have nature as it's supposed to be. And it's not just the bees, it's all of the insects. Everywhere you got Wi-Fi proliferation, you don't have insects.
Right. Because it screws with their brain and they can't figure out what they're doing or where they're going or anything.
That's part of it, but and for the bees primarily. But see, in the insect world with their exoskeleton system, they're actually more susceptible to electronic frequency degrading of their bodies.
Okay.
All right. I didn't know this either until I was studying what we're calling this. Well, I'm not calling it. It's being called the sixth extinction event.
Yes.
And it's a collapse of the insect world, because if the insects are gone, maximum, we've got 4 years.
Yeah.
And people don't understand that everything's going to crash. That the insects are what feed the birds and the other higher, lizards and all that feed everything else. And it's not, the whole planet's not going to go bottoms up, but civilization is.
Yeah. Well, maybe with all these little Shungite bees and the Shungite field and all the things that everybody's doing here, maybe we can change that. Or let's say all of us together, including.
Well, it's real simple. Either we change it, either it's changed in the future to being a new reality, or it's not. And I know that the universe has multiple stories. So I'm not living in the reality that this is going to become a dead planet. I'm living in a reality that says we have a new reality.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
And this new reality brings people together. Gaia gives them the gift of Shungite. That allows them to take care of the problem we have right now with 4G. And yes, I totally understand what you guys are doing with the nodes and energies. I've been working with this whole thing for a very long time.
I know you
It
have.
is all very real. And that's why we got to where we are now, because along the way, you had people who were very open-hearted, very powerful hearts, very compassionate and empathic people who had nothing to do with their lives except sit in a garden and think good things.
Yes.
Maybe they're invalids. Maybe they can afford to do this, whatever. The people that sat there and thought good things kept everything moving until we could get to a point where we could increase our consciousness and our understanding of just an energy universe and start to make changes that give us a story of change.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's probably a story out there that says, oh, Gaia got so fed up with those humans, she just dusted them, gone, and went on with a new creation. We've got stories that say, oh, they screwed up the planet so much, it's a dead planet. We've got, well, they changed everything so that some lizards from another galaxy could come and comfortably live here, and they ate all the humans. I mean, I could give you 1,000 scenarios.
Yeah.
My scenarios is we're in a new reality, and it's ours to build.
Yes, absolutely. We're right on the same page, Nancy. We're right on the same page. I want to ask you a very practical little question here, because I have several people I'm talking to about it, and I want to know it too. Okay, when we do Shungite water, and you make Shungite water, you have to have 3 pieces. I understand that, and I'm going to let you tell why in just a second here. My concern is there's different kinds of Shungite, and some of the Shungite I got from you is very, very powdery. And I personally am a little about having the powdery kind in my water, because I don't want to actually ingest so much powder.
Well, rinse it off.
You can rinse it off and it will stay. It's okay then. I mean, it doesn't just.
Oh, yeah. No, rinse it off.
Okay.
I'll tell you something too. I've got a septic tank. Okay. That's where it's got its own tank in the ground. It's not connected to the city thing. Mm-hmm. And I had to have it, it'd been 10 years, and I had somebody come and drain out the tank. This guy was so hysterical. You think that guy about Shungite was funny. This guy was so hysterical. He's going, oh my God, this is the best septic tank I've ever seen. And I'm going like, well, what do you mean? He says, see all these bugs in there? There are a lot of bugs in there. I'm telling you, that means that this is like a perfect environment. And he got so excited about this. He had finally seen the most perfect septic tank in the world. And why? Well, because I washed off all my Shungite in the sink, and it went down, and it was in the septic tank. And the other thing he said to me, when did you have this done before? And I said, 10, 12 years ago. He said, but there's nothing in it. It's just water. The Shungite by itself, it was probably drinkable for all I know, but he says, I'll clean it out anyway, but he couldn't believe it. He said, this is not a 10-year-old tank. Wow. And but he offered to come to my house anytime I needed any work.
Whoa, okay. Well, that answers my question. Just wash it off, and then I'll put it in my water. I was using it
or take it and wash it off and hold the water and put it on plants.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Good idea. How about
normally, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, how about this is the water without powder in it, but how about just, when you get the water, could you, like I have used my eyes so much and I also have cataracts. Could I put it as an eye wash? Could I put it in my ears? I have fungal in my ears. Could I water? I'm just talking about water, Shungite
Absolutely.
water.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, that's
certainly
great.
Not going to hurt. Certainly not going to hurt.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Wow, Nancy. Well, we certainly covered a lot in a short period of time, and I'm very happy about that. Is there anything last you'd like to add as our, before we conclude for today?
Well, I just want to point people to the fact that we have got to stop this 5G. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't want to get into the whole rant about 5G, but Shungite will make a massive impact on the 4G world we live in. 5G is a weapons system deployed against the people of the world. It offers us the opportunity to come together because the science tells you this is a weapon that's going to kill everybody and everything. That's absolute science. There's no disputing it. When you talk to telecommunications people, they go, you know, because they can't dispute the science.
Mhm.
So they use intimidation. They used laws by Clinton and Obama to make the telecommunications companies, you know, the biggest, most powerful group in the world, because the states can't protect you from them putting the antennas on your property. Your locals can't protect you. They've been given a free bill to march by Obama that they cannot be sued when people are dying. And they have got a test case in Gateshead up in northern Britain. They've got a 5G system in there. And just, I'm going to only give you one point. There's a 20% increase in strokes, death, since that 5G has been put in that little town.
Yeah.
You know, so when they do it, they're, you know, so you have got to become active concerning this.
Yeah.
Now, I'm talking to the people that can be active. I want to talk to that person that's been sitting in their backyard thinking good things. I want you to really think hard about this one.
Yeah.
No 5G. No. And I don't mean it by KNOW. I mean it by no, N-O, no 5G. Bottom line.
Yeah, well, you know, the TISO protocol is not about tackling 5G or tackling 4G or tackling anything. It's about resonance with Gaia and working to connect in a way, and I'm making it real simple here because there's details involved, in a way to balance out the whole energy frequency of the planet through a love heart vibration. And when you do that, you're not tackling any of these things. What you're doing is you're just allowing everything to balance. And that, I believe, I'm not saying that we just do that, we don't do anything else. Of course not. We have to tackle it on all fronts. But
we have to make stories. We have to have stories as to how it's happening,
Yes,
the witnessing thing.
Right. And that's what this is about, that we're working with. One of the things, not
exactly.
just helping just to bring it all together. And then it just goes, what was that? Oh, 5G? No, there's no such thing as 5G in this reality, you know. So that's kind of what we're working with on that front in any case. So, wow. Well,
someday I'll tell you the story about how we created the new reality.
Yeah.
Okay, now.
Okay.
Okay, I mean, because everybody's got a version of the new reality.
Oh, sure.
But Walt and I went and we built it one energy at a time. And it took us over 12 months of putting these energies through a radionics device into a huge cube of Shungite spirals. There were 6 spirals in it.
Woo.
I mean, it's a whole, you know, because you need stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Walt says to me, why are we trying to change the reality we have? It's working perfectly. It's designed to keep everybody in control. And he says, maybe we're better off building a new one.
Yeah.
And so I said to him, this is on live radio. And I said to him, well, okay, I see this piece of stuff over here, territory. Nobody's using it. How about we claim it and we'll build a new reality? You know, so, okay. And then we like, how do we do that? But we asked the question. And
Yeah.
as soon as we asked the question, how do we do that? He starts getting downloads. He starts sending me equipment. He doesn't know what it means. I had to build it. It's for you. I don't know what it means. You know? Well, what he was sending me turned out to be what we called the reality dialer that allowed us to put the energies into this space and place that we had designated as our new reality space. And over this time, we put in all sorts of different energies because those are the energies we want to see dominating in that reality. Mm-hmm. And since then, all I can say is that I see this matrix of energy form that he and I, because it only takes one, but when you got 2, then you got fun, you know? And every person who has ever had a thought, that thought has made a difference. So it's up to you whether you want to be good thoughts or bad thoughts. Right. I don't know about bad thoughts.
No,
you know?
No, we don't need those. We have to deal with it.
And if a bad thought goes out, go, come back here, gone. No, don't let it go. You know, take responsibility for the thoughts.
It's just like Dorothy and her ruby slippers. you know, she says there's no place like home. And of course, home is the center of the heart, but it's also, she has to think good thoughts. It says you got to think, oh, and Peter Pan, you know, you can't fly unless you think good thoughts. So all of these stories, you know, these are very mystical and deep, actually, that came out of this nether time, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow. Well, I just could talk with you forever, Nancy. So we'll have to do this again. But for now,
fun.
I'm just so pleased that we had this opportunity. And of course, I'm going to share this and share it and share it. And feel free to do the same when I put it up. I'll send you a link. Now, hold on. I'm just going to turn the video off and chat for a moment. So goodbye,
Okay.
everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.